So good evening. Welcome to the Friday Study Circle. Here we reflect on the words of various masters and mystics, but mostly we are discussing the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So here we share or reflect on whatever we had read that week or before that we would like, I don't know, to discuss or just share for the beauty of it or have any questions. So we'll start with the sharing. So, Sadachi, would you want to go first? I also have some things that I want to share. So, whatever is coming.
No, actually, I didn't. I don't have anything.
Okay. We have that karma document that I can pull up and we can go through that.
Yeah.
So, I also had something really interesting I've been wanting to share for some weeks. So, hi,
Yeah.
Meera.
Hi, Saru. Long time.
Yeah, long time. Good to see you. Okay, so it's from the incarnate word only, but I had copy pasted it here. You can see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Amira, would you like to read it?
Sure. Mother, one day you said you would tell us the difference between what you call the divine and we call God. Oh, but I told you that it would be later, several years later. I said that you had to be sufficiently old. I even said what age. I don't remember, I don't now remember which, but the brain must be a little more ready to able to follow. All the deformations of this great and divine power come from the obscurity and ignorance and selfishness of the limited instrument. Love, the eternal force, has no clinging, no desire, no hunger for possession, no self regarding attachment. It is, in its pure movement, the seeking for union of the self with the divine, a seeking absolute and regardless of all other things. Love divine gives itself and asks for nothing. What human beings have made of it, we do not need to say. They have turned it into an ugly and repulsive thing. And yet, even in human beings, the first contact of love does bring down something of its purer substance. They become capable for a moment of forgetting themselves. For a moment, its divine touch awakens and magnifies all that is fine and beautiful. But afterwards, there comes to surface the human nature, full of its impure demands, asking for something in exchange, bartering what it gives, clamoring for its own inferior satisfaction, distorting and soiling what was divine.
Yeah. So that was the question. Although the question was the divine and the difference between divine and God. But here she talks about the divine love. And what amazes is that how obvious it is and yet how far from us, because somehow our idea of love through movies and books is not that at all, and we keep seeing that and yet we don't realize, we think that the world, something is wrong in my world, that I am not getting it, but we are not yet ready to fully accept that it's not there, something needs to be corrected. So all the deformations of this great and divine power come from obscurity and ignorance and selfishness. That is, I think, ignorance and selfishness, they keep saying this in Buddhism as well, is the main issue. Love, the eternal force, has no clinging, no desire, no possession, no self-regarding attachment. I mean, if you just remove all this, then I think I don't know, what do we do, right? There's clinging, there's possession, and of course there is attachment, and those things are considered sacred, right? Like if somebody doesn't cling, it's said that what's wrong with you? So, but that's a different story. So in its pure movement, they define the love as the seeking for union of the self with the divine. Mother at several places has mentioned that it's not possible in human love. The human love with the two egos, the pure divine love. I mean, I'm sure it would be probably possible for masters and mystics, but like when she says the divine, only have faith in the divine, because rest all will not be there. Don't make anybody your crown. So love divine gives itself and asks for nothing. So again, we've already discussed that how we have made it ugly and repulsive. And yet, even in human beings, the first contact of love, this is really interesting because, I don't know, I used to read fiction a lot as a child. And whenever you talk to people, it's like somebody, I mean, somehow most of us cannot forget the first time, we had, I don't know, we felt that love for somebody. And it might not even, it might just be the case that because we couldn't get it, so we remember it more fondly. And yet where, when she says here that it brings something purer, because that's the first time, I think there is some kind of surrender, right? Like there's something bigger than I for the first time in my life. And probably that's why people, remember it so fondly. And yet, even in human beings, the first contact of love does bring down something of its purer substance. They become capable for a moment of forgetting themselves. And it's so weird that we are incapable of forgetting ourselves, but yeah. So for a moment, its divine touch awakens and magnifies all that is fine and beautiful. But afterward, there comes to the surface the human nature, full of demands, exchanges, flatterings, clamorings for its own inferior satisfaction, distorting and soiling what was divine. And you see that movement happen. Like I have seen that movement happen very clearly, that you're feeling so expanded. And there are people who tell you, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. You should do this, you should ask for this, at least this must be met. And you see how from that expanded state, it becomes smaller and smaller and you feel small. So it's nice to see it in black and white. And there's just one more thing. This is also very interesting in case we want to read it, but we can come back to it because Captain and Jasmine has also joined. Hello, Captain. Hi, Jasmine. So the question is, why do human beings always want to have something in exchange for what they give? So we come.
Beautiful question. We all need it, which is not beautiful. Everything is beautiful, but
Yeah. So we'll come to this before we end. So Captain, would you like to go next?
Sorry, I joined late.
That's
And
all right. Thank you.
is it a different topic we should start?
Yes. Please tell me, what do you want me to like?
Actually, I was reading the temple within you, and the sentence starts in the depths of your consciousness.
I do it 1 second. I don't know why it's not showing me. Yeah. Yeah. So you said in the depth.
In the depths of your consciousness is the psychic being. In the depths, DEPTHS, in the depths. Depths of
Yeah,
your,
here it is.
in the depths of consciousness. Yes. In the same. Yes. So I'll read it out. The temple within you. In the depths of your consciousness is the psychic being, the temple of the divine within you. This is the center around which should come about the unification of all these divergent parts, all these contradictory movements of your being. Once you have got the consciousness of the psychic being and its aspiration, these doubts and difficulties can be destroyed. It takes more or less time, but you will surely succeed in the end. Once you have turned to the divine, saying, I want to be yours, and the divine has said, yes, the whole world cannot keep you from it. When the central being has made its surrender, the chief difficulty has disappeared. The outer being is like a crust. In ordinary people, the crust is so hard and thick that they are not conscious of the divine within them. If once, even for a moment only, the inner being has said, I am here and I am yours, then it is as though a bridge has been built, and little by little the crust becomes thinner and thinner until the two parts are wholly joined and the inner and the outer becomes one. So we have to uh, other day we had been discussing about the homecoming. Once, who am I? If we are trying to find out this answer, then probably it is said that that everything is within me. So here, in the depths of the consciousness, there is the psychic being. Even if we are not aware of the psychic being, but if we turn our focus probably, then we can move, and no effort will get wasted. Uh, like your mother says that the whole world cannot keep it from it, because once uh, from the inner being, I decided that yes, uh, I'll definitely move in this particular path, and we got the answer yes. So that means that nobody can stop. So this is the it's very encouraging word actually. So it is said no world, nobody can stop, nobody can stop me from moving away from that place. I think it definitely will be able to reach that goal. It's a very, very strong and very encouraging words. Actually. This is the mother has given. And when Swami Vivekananda he met Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and Ramakrishna knew that he can sing a song. Then he was asked. Ramakrishna asked him to sing a song. Then he sang this song. In Bengali, it says that Mon Chalo Nijo Niketane, means the mind. Let us go back to home. It is homecoming actually. So this we have been deprived for many, many, many years, because I have not understood myself. Who am I? And we are out from our home actually, in the sangsar, that is in our family life, which we had been leading. So that is outside. It is something like a foreign country. So they're telling, Vivekananda is telling that you are moving away from the in the foreign land. So you come back inside, come back inside. There is homecoming. Come back inside. Everything is there inside. So then you have to discover, and you have to channelize our path and effort in that particular path chosen, and then definitely that Almighty will help us to move in this. So this is the encouragement which I got from reading this paragraph. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain. And how you said that this word is so encouraging that the whole world cannot keep you from it. It definitely is encouraging. And I was reminded that when Meera was facing a lot of issues, because of with the husband, and how they were seeing that. I'm talking about Meera Bai, not Mother Meera. So she had actually gone to Vrindavan. She had left everything and went to Vrindavan, but then her husband realized that he had made a mistake. He came back, apologized, and he took her back. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, after passed on, and the in-laws really started harassing Mirabai. So then there's a letter that Mirabai had written to Swami Tulsidas, saying that I feel it's my duty to be here, that because I am supposed to be the the daughter of the house, the daughter-in-law. So it's my duty to be here. But what do I do, right? Like every moment is like they're doing something, saying something, and coming between the divine and me. So you please tell me, because you are kind of like my guru. So Tulsidas had written it, said it very beautifully that, once you have made that connection with the divine, you have no other duty. Like, anybody, your mother, your father, your guru, even if they are coming between you and divine, just move on. Like, you don't have to stay there even for one more second. So, that gave her the courage to say that I don't want to be here. And then I think she moved to her, I don't know, like Chacha's place, uncle's place. And that's where she had basically spent the rest of her years. So he had very strongly advised her that you don't have to think about these duties now. So that was beautiful. And another thing that I really liked in this sharing, was this thing that if once, even for a moment only, the inner being has said, I am here and I am yours, then it is as though a bridge has been built, and little by little the crust becomes thinner and thinner until the two parts are wholly joined and the inner and outer becomes one. So I don't think there would be anybody here, at least right now, who hasn't experienced that one call, right? That I'm here for you. It could be your own inner voice. It could be, I don't know, an Akash Vani, depending on, whatever our life experiences are. And a lot of masters and mystics have said that, it's once we start keeping these experiences, these, I don't know, out of body experiences or these inner connections on the same parity, at least, as our everyday life, till then your journey would not start, because you keep you keep doubting that yes, I felt it, but I don't feel it anymore. Oh yes, I felt it, but 10 people have told me, what if I was hallucinating? So you keep, these doubts, although you might defend them when people are saying to you, they make some place inside. So I think mother also, we had shared it, I think here only once, that mother had said that it's really important to keep going to these experiences again and again. You have felt something, you have come in touch with something, and if you're going through a moment of weakness, you close your eyes and you have that experience again. You have to make it more powerful and powerful and powerful, because the way the world is, they will try their level best. Even our own nature, even our own escapism and laziness would try to, push it under the rug, that, oh, come on, have an ice cream, forget the divinity that you touch. So that is our truth. So it's up to us to always keep going back to those moments where we had that connection and give them more and more power. I personally remember, there was this book, it's unrelated to this circle, but Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I don't know if any of you have heard it. It was quite a bestseller and there was a movie on it. So in that, there was this thing that she was not happy in her marriage, and she didn't know how to get out of it, because everything was okay. Her husband was a good guy, and yet she felt she just couldn't stay in that marriage for some reason. So she couldn't sleep at nights, nights on nights and nights, and she would just, go to the bathroom floor and cry. And, she would just hear a voice that, just go to bed, Liz. Something in her would guide her that, you're going towards something and it's fine. Just get going. And we do hear those voices ourselves sometimes. So it's really nice to know that we are not hallucinating. And even if we are hallucinating, mother says even, imagination is happening. It's real, right? It's happening at some realm. That was a very beautiful thing. I'll pull it up sometimes, that thing on imagination, that it's not thin air, it's happening in some plane, and we have to, and that's why, there comes the importance of visualizations and all, because you make it happen. So please, anybody, yes, Arda ji and Jasmine, anything on this? I have been going on and I think even this
You
thing
read
with,
further as well, that ambition para.
okay, I was just saying the temple of the divine, this calling of psychic being the temple of the divine within you is also very beautiful. Yes, Meera, you want to read this one? Please go ahead.
Yeah. Ambition has been the undoing of many yogis. The canker can hide long. Many people start on the path without any sense of it, but when they get powers, their ambition rises up, all the more violently because it had not been thrown out in the beginning. A story is told of a yogi who had attained wonderful powers. He was invited by his disciples to a great dinner. It was served on a big low table. The disciples asked their master to show his power in some way. He knew he should not, but the seed of ambition was there in him, and he thought, after all, it is a very innocent thing, and it may prove to them that such things are possible and teach them the greatness of God. So he said, take away the table, but only the table. Let the tablecloth remain as it is with all the dishes upon it. The disciples cried out, oh, that cannot be done, everything will fall down. But he insisted, and they removed the table from the cloth. Lo, the miracle, the cloth and all that was upon it remained there just as the table was underneath. The disciples wondered. But all on a sudden, the master jumped out and rushed out screaming and crying, never more shall I have a disciple, never more. Woe is me. I have betrayed my God. His heart was on fire. He had used the divine powers for selfish ends. It's always wrong to display powers. This does not mean that there is no use for them, but they have to be used in the same way as they came. They came by union with the divine. They must be used by the will of the divine and not for display. If you come across someone who is blind and you have the power to make him see, if it is the divine will that the man shall see, you have only to say, let him see, and he will see. But if you wish to make him see simply because you want to cure him, then you use the power to satisfy your personal ambition. Most often, in such cases, you not only lose your power, but you create a great disturbance in the man. Yet, in the appearance, the two ways are the same. But in one case, you act because of the divine will, and the other for some personal motive.
So amazing. And how subtle the difference is, right? Like, you can just let him see. May he see, rather than doing it because I can do it.
I think especially the before para, it happens almost all the time to us where we know that we have to resist something and we should not do it, and yet we ourselves do it and we ourselves feel guilty later on. Maybe that moment was just a test for us to see whether we will do it or not, but later just another part of us that wakes up and realizes that that was not supposed to be done.
We are not able to resist our temptations. Most of the times, we want to show. We all know that we are not supposed to do that, but still we do that. Afterwards, we'll feel miserable. Why did we do that? Beautiful.
So there's this book called God Speaks. It's by Meher Baba. He was a saint, a mystic himself. And in that I have not fully read it, like I left it in between, but it had like different levels of like different levels of attainment. Kinds, how we are for, and it spoke about how our consciousness starts from the stone and then it becomes, minerals, plants, insects, and how it grows, and then human, and then, different levels of sainthood. And in that, there was this, I could be getting it wrong, but the fifth level in which the person gets a lot of siddhis. Like he can do magic and he can, make the dead rise. And it said that not at any level can you ever fall down. But on the fifth level, if you misuse that power, that if you do something like, you make the world square instead of kind of circle kinds, like for smaller things, you will become a stone again. Like imagine that. So that means you didn't know how to, I don't know, keep the powers. And but he said that it rarely ever happens. And if that happens, that is also should be considered a will of divine only, because without his will, nothing happens. So it was a bit confusing. It was pretty amazing that after all that climbing up, you'll become a stone again because you need to restart. Yeah.
So we have someone we know of. So he was in a good position. Like he was in a government posting and he was in a good position. And for him, like all of his talks are always about his power and how he influences people and he has a lot of power. So even if he has to step into a temple, for example, so he would always talk about not the deity, but about the fact that he uses influence to get his way through. And it would always frustrate me even as a child about how like he's thinking about his powers and not the deity in front of him. So I have never really, I can't still deal with that. But it is just very ignorant. I mean, I can look at it as ignorant, but for him it's very real. So it's actually a very logical thing that there is something definitely above us. But we're blinded by the fact that you possess something which actually is not with you.
But I think such people are such beautiful examples now for us, because there's so many things that we, everything we think is our entitlement. Whatever we have, oh, I deserve, or I made it. And what I don't have, oh God, you are so mean, you are so unkind that you are not giving that. So, there's this couplet by Kabir Das. It says that, बिलक बिलक के तेरिया रोए बिछड़ गई मेरी जोड़ी कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधो जिन जोड़ी तिन तोड़ी. As in, a lady who has just lost her husband, she's kind of banging her chest and saying that I've lost my other half, right? But Kabir is saying that don't you see that the one who gave it to you has taken him away? Like you never had anything, right? Like whatever we feel proud of. So I think whenever we come across such people, it's a reminder to check within, right? That what am I boasting of? What am I standing on? And I better sit down and, go my head low, because there's absolutely nothing that I, being myself, can do. Sorry, Sardaji, you were saying something after Meera when I...
No, I used to wonder about this person, whether these people understand, are they aware of what they are talking, even for one moment, 1 second. They will go on and on and on and on. As you said, we can, check with ourselves, our own selves. How many times have I behaved that way? But I used to feel sad for them. But will they ever understand, Karu? I don't
Suddenly,
know.
I think I won't go there, right? Like he is there in front of me so that I can keep a check on myself. That's the only thing I need to do. Rest is his journey, right? Maybe this is helping him in some way. I have no idea, right? Like I don't see the big picture because
Yeah.
I don't know. But for me, I just know that I do also feel proud and I do also boast at times. So
Yeah.
every time I see that and I'm feeling, that weird thing that what is he doing or why is he doing that? It's just that, I wish that, whatever is left in me or if I can see something clearly, just to offer it. Because, at least then if you look at it, okay, if there are 100 people and 100 people have it, some less, some more. So if I have it less, by the grace that I can see it more through him, overall it will be less, right? So it will help somewhere more, like, in the
True.
overall picture. So I think just that these questions about, others' journeys, I think one must very strongly refrain because, it's like Abdullah ki shadi mein, whatever that phase is, not that I have nothing to do with that. And I'm sitting and giving my precious time and wondering and maybe even creating some karma as a result, judgments and stuff. While apna hi, my own cloth is not clean and I'm thinking about why the others is not as clean as it should be.
So maybe these people also help us a lot.
Yes,
Look at
not
us.
maybe, for sure. Even in Buddhism, Tenzin Palmo, she says that we must salute these people, right? Because they make us see what all is there in us. I mean, she really says that you should be extremely thankful. And these examples are so common, so common. Like, I don't know, like, people do something, I don't know, for the ashram, and then it's like when you meet them, the first thing they say that, do you know how much I have donated? Or do you know how much, what all lands I have given? Like, hello, I'm this and this, and I have donated so much. And this is how they introduce. And, something in you is wondering that, do you hear yourself? Kind of a thing. And yet, just see how crazy the world is that there is someone who has motivated that person to give like crores and crores, but the same someone is making him dance to his tunes that, I have given those crores. So it's funny. It's just, one can enjoy the divine play and just say that I hope I can see, because we get blind, right? That mother give me eyes that I can see and I can be less more and more. So yeah.
So it's a beautiful thought, Taru. Yeah. Next time if we see him, that person, definitely. Because I used to feel sad for him, but I should not feel sad because it is his journey. He's acting that way. But I should learn about how I have to be in my journey. So it's a great opportunity for us to learn. Beautiful, beautiful thought. Yeah.
So I'll share that question that we were planning to take. Anybody would want to read it?
I can read.
Okay.
Why do human beings always want to have something in exchange for what they give? Because they're shut up in themselves. They sense their limitation and think that in order to grow, increase, and even survive, they need to take things from outside, for they live in the consciousness of their personal limitation. So for them, what they give makes a whole, and this whole must be filled by receiving something. Naturally, this is a mistake. And the truth is that instead of being shut up in the narrow limits of their little person, they could so widen their consciousness so as to be able not to identify themselves with others in their narrow limits, but to come out of those limits, pass beyond, spread out everywhere, unite with the one consciousness and become all things. Then at that moment, the narrow limits will vanish, but not before. And as long as one senses the narrow limits one wants to take, for one fears to lose, one spends and wants to replenish. It is due to that, my child. For if one were spread out in all things, if all the vibrations which come and go expressed, the need to merge into everything, to widen oneself, grow, not by remaining within one's limits, but coming out of them, and finally to be identified with everything, one would no longer have anything to lose, for one would have everything. Only one doesn't know this, and so one doesn't know, one can't do it. One tries to take, accumulate, 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 but that is impossible. One cannot accumulate. One must identify oneself, and then the little bit one gives, one wants to get back. One has a kind thought, one expects some recognition. One gives a little affection, one expects it from others. For one doesn't have the ability to become the kind thought in everything. One doesn't have the ability to be the affection, the tender love in all things. One feels just like that, all cut up and limited, and fears to lose everything, fears to lose what one has because one would be impoverished. On the other hand, if one were able to identify oneself, one would no longer need to pull. The more one spreads out, the more one has. The more one gets identified, the more one becomes. And then instead of taking, one gives. And the more one gives, the more one grows. But for this, one must be able to come out of the limits of one's little ego. One must be identified with the force, identified with the vibration instead of being identified with one's ego. It is very difficult, but one can succeed.
So any reflections on this?
The whole equation has changed. The fundamental problem of giving and taking is now just changing it to giving and giving.
We had, I think, once read here only that the only right of true love is the right of self-giving. You know, we say that, okay, I love that person, or I'm in this particular relationship, and first I wanted this, and this, and now I just want this much, and I can't even get this much, and that's not all right. But, you know, Mother says that the only right of love is the right to give yourself. So I think that's something that we see here as well. And how small we are, right? Like, you know, we see, you know, in movies also, we see these funny things that if one person goes to a marriage, you know, they write down that, okay, this person gave 500. So next time when they have to go to their function, they make sure that they give 500. And similar, and it sounds funny then, but aren't we all doing that, right? One has a kind thought, one expects recognition that, yes, I was kind. You give a good tip to a waiter, and then you always try to see, you know, oh, is he, you know, how does he look at you? There is some joy in his eyes, and I made that joy happen. Oh, I'm so gracious. You know, these small things, like we are so full of ourselves and they escape us. I think it's so important. Like, you know, when there is a bigger, yesterday only I was listening to somebody talk on yoga, you know, this Yoga Upanishads. I don't know what it's called, but they said that the regular pain everybody sees, you know, the regular suffering that we have, the big ones we see, but it's so much grace when we start seeing the small ways in which we suffer, you know, when we get the eyes to see the small sufferings that we put on ourselves, we bring on ourselves, is that's like, that's when we try to, remove those, is when purification happens. And that happens because one doesn't have the ability to become the kind thought. I am so limited that I have one kind thought and I feel, yes, this is enough for my end, right? One gives a little affection and one wants, because one cannot become love. On the other hand, if one were to identify oneself, one would no longer need to pull. If I know that I am love, why will I need love from somewhere else? The more one spreads out, the more one has, the more one gets identified, with the divine, the more one becomes. There is this phrase that I still haven't fully understood, but I am getting it more and more every day. There's this thing that says that, give, give, give with empty pockets. Like even if you don't have anything in your pockets, you still give whatever you can give. And that sounded strange. And yet I feel the more you give, even with the less you have, the more you get. So it's just the intention, the true, the genuine intention that, yes, I want to give, even if I don't have enough to give. And the more one gives, it's so paradoxical. I think there is this so much beauty in Shri Aurobindo's words and Mother's word, because everything is paradoxical, right? Like the world is telling us that the more you take, the more you have. The bigger you are, the richer you are, the more established, the more popular, the more successful, accomplished, successful your life is. And here we are being told that the more one gives, the more one grows. But for this, one must be able to come out of the limits of one's little ego. Here comes all our problem. I. And one must be identified with the force, identified with the vibration, instead of being identified with one's ego. Even this relates to the one that we read before, right? That when we have that first love, how the beauty comes, right? And yet, after some time, it gets diluted and the ego steps in. Anybody, anything on this? If I don't know if you want to read this again, or this was, yes, Captain.
Probably since childhood, in the different conditions and the circumstances where we have been brought up. So it's like give and take. It is something like commercial dealings actually. I have to study because I have to find a good job. So not that to increase my knowledge and all. This school I should study science because I can get some computer knowledge, or I can take training on computer knowledge and I can earn money or stand on my own feet. So like in India, normally when in my case, when we were brought up, we were told the science is the only thing. I'm talking about the 60s and 70s, 1960s and 70s. So that was the only thing, that we had to find a job, and that was the end. So you give your time and energy, and you will get the knowledge and this thing. So it is give and take, as we are habituated from the beginning of our life, and that was being encouraged. So this may be one of the thing actually here, like for anything, we know that you know uh, we have to stand our own feet. Means it is not that to know myself, who am I or something and all this, that what job I must give. It means what I have to give. This sort of training or discussions and all, we are not fortunate to have this actually. We were never having in our life. So that's what we knew, that it is give and take, like reciprocate. Even in the birthday parties, the children, they invite their friends, whether it is they're studying in class 1, class 2, class 3, or class 5. And when they come, for them, some eatables and some gifts and things like that are prepared for the whose birthday is being celebrated. They organize, and there is a trend. Even those children, those who come, they come with a return gift. So it's like give and take. It is some exchange, actually, the exchange takes place. So we always, our mind has been developing actually from the beginning of our life. That only that I have to, uh, I have to give something, or I have to take something, and I have to give something. It is something like it is understood. So this is the way. Like you say, see, work hard, you will get your result. Means that was been told. There is a lot of proverbs in many languages where it is told that कष्ट करो तो कृष्ण मिलेगा. Means something like means it is something like exchange, and I pray to God for my mental peace. So it is also something like dealing, and we are blaming God. The God, why have you done this harm to me? That means I'm thinking about you now. You should do only good to me. What I think in my language. No, it is that something like exchange only we are dealing at. This we have to get out of it. This somehow we have to get rid of this, and then probably our path will be clear. Like what I wanted, and I should be very clear in my thought and action, and then probably which helped me. And if I really take a step forward, then the divine will come 10 steps to take me, or to give me permission. But I should be purified way of asking. Like it is not that just by thought once I have asked, but it should be the really my aspiration. That yes, and so on. Definitely in the purified aspiration, purified form, and so definitely that aspiration will be fulfilled. I think so. These are the thoughts which are coming to my mind when this chapter was being made. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain. It's actually, I think, a bit sad, na? Like how we have been raised that, and we call that love, right? That's the worst part, that this business of give and take that we have in every relationship, we call that love. Yes, Meera, please.
No, so I was saying Captain had brought out a very correct point. So this is very ingrained in the way we look at everything, I think. So from the time we study to want to get something in return. And I was just observing, like there was a small child, like a 4 to 5 year child, and his mother. So he was not agreeing to something, or he was not doing something. So the whole conversation went by about how the mother kept telling him that you don't do this. If you do this, I will not give you that, or you don't do this, and I will give you that. So it's a very surface way of saying, like it's just an exchange, and you'll run out of things at the end of the day to give if the child, it's ingrained in the child that he should not do this because this is this. And yeah, so from that stage to, obviously it's ingrained in our education system, and later in the corporate world also. It is just and now it's become so quick. It's like today, tomorrow, like I do this today, I need that tomorrow. And yeah, it's something to reflect on. At least those who are aware of it, we can change that within ourselves.
Yeah. My 5-year-old, he would not want to do anything, any worksheets and all that the school would give, especially online. And once I had this parent-teacher thing with the Didis and the school is based on the teachings of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And they would say that, you don't submit homeworks or whatever, some classwork. And I was like, yeah, we do it. We maybe are not meeting the deadlines. And since he's studying at home, I don't feel the need to, submit it for you to see. But, he just does this much. He doesn't do, and I don't know how to make him do because he doesn't want to do it. And for me, it's all right. Like there is no rush. And the Didi said that, you have to tell him that, see, I'm your mom. I cook for you. I take you out, so now you do this for me. And I for 2 minutes, I just couldn't say anything because I was like, how would, why would you say that? So I asked her that mother says that, this should come from inherently, the child should want to do it. And this will just become a transaction. But the truth is that it's really difficult in a family setup for the kid to be not exposed to that, this thing, because it's everywhere. They are hearing this, that you get me a glass of water, so I'll get you a glass of water. If the kid says, I don't want to get you, and then I will not get you, it's like, it's it's just, I mean, there's sometimes I do it and I look at myself that why am I doing this? And yet it's just easy, like Meera, you said that it's just, and it's so sad that we always, the first instinct is to go for easy, right? Then to go for what is holistic and what is right. But I think it's a journey again for all of us. And
So, Taru, it's it's a personal question. Then, how are you managing the child? How the parents of your age?
yeah.
Then, what is the way?
No, I don't know what the way is, Adaji, but the thing is that, I'll just give an example. Like that day, Monica was sharing with me that, her elder son, she has 2 children. Her elder son, who's, I think, maybe 8.5, he doesn't like Hindi, but he loves maths and English, and he does all the worksheets. But Hindi, he doesn't write. So one day, Monica said that, today we will do one writing, one page writing in Hindi, come what may. So the child sat down. After 2 minutes, he said that I don't want to live in a world where I have to do things that are against my nature, against myself. And he walked off. And Monica said that first reaction was that I was like, how did he do this? And second was like the awness that, wow, that he could do it. So she said that she didn't know what to do about it and stuff. But after 2 days, he himself came and he said, today I feel like doing Hindi. So today we'll do what you wanted me to say. So I think, somehow we feel that if I am not pushing it, it will not happen. But probably we need to, give up that hold. Like we were discussing in the harmony circle, we all feel that we need a ground to stand on, right? If I will not push it, how will he learn? But we, from our own experiences, we must know by now that there are so many things that we were not taught, right? That just life made us see and we understood. So I think this faith in ourselves needs to go down, that I am the one, I think it's Osho who says that, when we have kids, we become gods, right? We feel that now I am God and he's, my whatever, and it's up to me to make or break him, which is again not true at all. And the sooner we realize that, the better it is. As for me, I falter a lot. I don't know, do a lot of stuff. So just, I don't know, learning and I don't know. And it's like, it's so funny. The other day, he was like really kind of saying stuff which he was not to be saying. And it's okay. I think he was saying the stuff a lot of times I say to other people. And he was like, I was really annoyed and I was in the kitchen and he wanted something. And he came and he said, chop, chop, like do it faster. And my first reaction was I wanted to just break my head, but I was like, it's so good. I really needed to hear this. It was like that you just, lit the fuel also after like to first avoid me 100% and then ask for something and say, chop, chop. That so it's like, this it's like you have to see it's either you shout or you see the funny aspect and you just offer, right? That I wish I can stop doing this, or because he's teaching, right? He's teaching. So I think just with grace, the more one can see and accept, because I don't think they're here to learn from us. We are here to, learn from them. And, I see in the school, in the message groups and all, especially during COVID, how people say that, they're 7 and they don't even know this. Oh my God, what is the school doing? And, and I'm like that, they're 7. They have their whole lives to, what if they don't know multiplication that they were supposed to know in grade 2? They know it in grade 3. Like, what is it that they'll miss? So it's so much grace to be able to not be on fire all the time, right? About these, like, my niece, she's in a regular DPS where, she's, I think, almost maybe a class ahead of my son who's elder to her. And so what? They'll all learn everything. Maybe he knows 10 less words in English. Maybe he doesn't know division and she does. I mean, it really doesn't matter at all, like not even 1%. So I think to be okay with being where you are. I just finished soon. There's just one thing I wanted to share on the same thing. When we were there for the orientation in the school's name is Shikshanta. They had actually, brought in some kids from 10th, 11th class, so that we could talk to them. And one of the parents, they asked the question that, Shikshanta usually ranks 2 in Gurgaon and Sri Ram is number 1. So they said that, do you have any friends in Sri Ram school? And if yes, how do you compare? Where do they stand and where do you stand in terms of things? And the girl, I think she was in grade 10th, and she said that, I am a bit surprised by your question, because why would I compare myself to anyone? I have my own journey, and the only one I compare to myself is myself.
Beautiful.
I have no answer to your question because I have never gone there to compare. It's just my own thing. So what a beautiful answer, right? So
Beautiful. Yeah. It's excellent. Yeah. Very nice thought. Even a child of
Yeah.
10th standard or whatever. Beautiful. And beautiful answers, Taru. Thank you so much. Because who people who are in this path, at least try to know themselves, only can handle this way. Otherwise, it will be like a barter system. I do this, you do that. I do this, you do that. I will order this from Amazon, so you please write your homework. What is this? We don't know. Maybe it is their journey. We should think that way only. But still wanted to, since you said you have a 5-year-old son at home. So
now he's 7, but that experience was when he was 5. Yeah, he's
yeah. No, whatever. That small
Yes.
kid there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. And I think in one of the books, what is that book? I forgot the name of the book, mother's book only. See, even for playing basketball, mother was talking about, playing games. She mentions that when you play basketball, play for the joy of playing, not for winning. So, at that time, Meera was playing basketball in school. I used to tell her, because it'll be peer pressure. Everybody wants to play well. I used to tell her, see, mother has told, maybe I used to think, for her only mother wrote that sentence, basketball. We always connect that way, no? So, play for the joy of playing, for the sake of playing. So, we will not expect anything. We all should learn.
And yet the kids, are carrying their own past. Like I personally myself have not exposed the kid to say these competitions, and the school hasn't either. A lot of times, he's playing with so much, I don't know, restlessness and energy. And I'm like, play for fun. He said, no, mama, I want to win. And what do you say to that? It's like, and later I talked to him that, was it fun? And he was like, yes, when I won, it was fun. So it's something that one has to, there's like, again, it's like you just have to step back then that, yes, like what you know, what you think you know, you can slowly, just poke. And even for the fear of darkness, like somehow I felt that I've never ever introduced that or anything. And yet, when he was 2.5, 3, he could say that I don't want to go in the dark room. So I wondered, again, there's so many things that we are carrying, so many impressions that you cannot, it's like, there's nothing called perfection, and it's just something that we have to work towards. And yeah. So I think we'll end here today. I also have something at 8:30. So thank you so much for joining in. Although
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
The
you.
Thank you,
karma
Kat.
document, we'll take it then next week. Nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brother. Thank you.